You know what I realized? I have the normal logo on the intro, and I've been using our retro logo to start. So we're gonna switch things up so that we're kind of doing the right thing this week. There we go. That works. Well, my computer doesn't want to help me out. Here we go. Now we're better. Welcome to That Helps No One. Yeah, it looks good. Welcome to That Helps No One Fantasy Cast on Area 51 Network. We're going to be talking about week 2 already. The recap of week 2, preview for week 3. Doesn't feel right because it feels like football just started and we already have like opinions on basically the entire NFL, which is awesome. We've got Tom Selleck on the show tonight. He also has a beard, so maybe he's Higgins. I'm not quite sure. Matt, welcome to the show. Steve, welcome to the show. Matt, you just got in from the Big Smoke?
Yeah, I came from Alberta North, Hawaii North, Edmonton.
Samson. I set you up for it and you can't even deliver. Oh, man.
Well, sorry, guys. Yeah, I was in Edmonton for 21 hours. It was riveting, as Edmonton is.
I like how you weren't even there a full day. Like, I didn't want to say I was there for a day. Just enough. Steve, you did you go to Hawaii North or no?
Yeah, you can see with my wonderful Hawaiian shirt attire that I'm wearing.
Yeah, hoodie.
I was telling Matt before the show started. Every time I go to Edmonton, I usually think to myself, like, I need to be wearing a Hawaiian shirt. It just fits Edmonton, I think.
Well, yeah,
not even close.
Well, only makes sense. Did you wear that into Edmonton, Matt, or no?
I did actually. I wore it to. We were visiting one of our suppliers today for his 10-year anniversary. Wow. And it has buttons, and therefore it is a dress shirt.
Wow. That's
a rule. You wouldn't understand.
I wear t-shirts. Championship t-shirts.
Yeah.
Because I'm a champion. Like the Kansas City Chefs. That's great, but who are the chefs? Nobody knows. You guys, the NFL, I was mentioning this in the group chat to Steve a little bit earlier. Injuries this season, they haven't been like the catastrophic ones where guys are down for the count for the entire year. Like, we're not seeing like full-on ACL repairs, but there are these really annoying ones where guys are out like 4 to 5 weeks. This has been really frustrating to start the season. Like, obviously all the CMC owners are not happy. Looks like Jordan Love might play this week, so that's good. But I mean, Puka is out. Like, there are a ton of players that are just like trickling around. That Pacheco's out as well. Like, just tons of injuries. Have you guys been affected via the injury bug for your rosters so far?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you play in enough leagues, you've hit on one of these guys, right? In whistleblowers, yeah. I've got AJ Brown, so I don't know that I'm going to be like mega competitive in that league, considering almost no draft picks, but it at least gives you a chance, right? Like if your big ticket guys are there playing week in, week out, you at least have the chance. I also have Justin Jefferson in 2 of my 3 leagues. It looks like he's going to be fine, but after his injury riddled year there, you definitely notice the impact a guy like Justin Jefferson has for just 1 week. If you don't have him for 1 week, that's pretty much a loss for your team.
Yeah, I mean, those are the kind of guys that you need the points no matter what. And in the actual game of football, if he's not performing, likely in the Vikings case, unfortunately for Matthew and his Vikings, it's probably not great news if JJ is not making plays. Matt, have you suffered from any injuries on your fantasy team, or even just in real life? Do you have any injuries going on?
Actually, I'm probably as healthy as I've been in about 5 or 6 years, personally. And my fantasy football team is equally healthy. I have dodged all those bullets so far.
Nice.
The only one is I've had
So you don't have
Keenan Allen. I guess Keenan Allen, but Caleb Williams can't throw the ball, so it doesn't really matter anyways.
Yeah, that's fair. Something about the Bears, I don't know. Like, this was the year maybe they were able to get off the schneid and actually be a relevant fantasy team, and yet it's still the Bears. I think they tricked us, and maybe one player would be good. That's about it.
Yeah, it could turn around. It's the curse of the NFL making these rookies start immediately and never giving them time, and you never know. By week 6, he could turn around and go, but so far it doesn't look that great.
So I'm going to ask you guys this. You guys have probably been a little bit more diehard football than I have for a longer period of time in life. Now that the preseason is a little bit shorter and we're not really seeing guys get kind of full reps in, like maybe one series, like the entire preseason, it feels like for some guys. Do you not think they should probably be playing a little bit more in the preseason? Like, I don't expect all the starters to be playing. Like, it's such a fine line, right? Like, would you not expect them to get like a series each game, or even the first 2 games, and then like one play even in the 3rd game, and then that's it? Like, I would hate to go in completely green on the season, and these random just because your muscles haven't been used to working in like actual game reps.
You know what? That might be a question for somebody who played like super high level football. I wouldn't know what that feels like in terms of like, live practice or live practice games of how hard they're actually hitting, how hard they're engaging. But I feel like that idea is kind of like a catch-22, because sure, maybe if that was the case where you're getting more of those reps and your body's getting used to taking those hits before it's like 110%, sure. But then you have what happened to J.K. Dobbins a couple of years ago, where Harbs put him in literally for one series and he blew his knee out, and it was like, oh, should we stop playing starters altogether? And I just feel like there's no good answer for this. Like, it's a contact sport. It's a violent sport. It's going to happen. And I was listening on the weekend to Move the Sticks, and Bucky Brooks was saying that there's this kind of thing in the football world that there's 4 levels of speed in football. There's preseason, there's the regular season, there's playoffs, and then there's Super Bowl.
Right.
Every time you bump up, the game gets faster, gets more difficult. So sure, maybe you need those reps on your body, but then there's also the idea that maybe the lack of reps is going to save you if you're going deep into the playoffs or like a full Super Bowl run. Yeah,
I get it. I don't know. Matt, what do you think?
I just think with such a short season, to not be prepared for week 1, 2, especially as a rookie quarterback or a new offense or whatever it might be, it's wild to think that you would allow your team to get off to that slow start, not having the reps. But I get it too. Do you want to draft Caleb Williams 1 overall and then watch him slip on turf, and that's his career, right? Your great hope for the next 5 years is Gonzo's, but I feel like there's got to be some other sort of.
I mean, the Panthers didn't.
Some sort of simulation.
Panthers didn't play on turf for the first 2 weeks, did they? I don't know. What's their excuse?
They just are bad.
They're just bad.
Yeah.
I feel like in preseason too, you're starting to see a lot more of these teams who are reaching out to other teams, and they're actually doing like, full joint practices. And I don't care if you tell, one of your players, like, I want you to go 75%, I want you to go 80%. When the egos get out there and you get popped once, like, I feel like that's pretty I would say that's maybe even as close to a preseason game as you can actually get. So, you know what? I think Matt's there. I'm not, like, as a GM, as a coach, I am not risking my job by putting first overall picks out there. And, should they get a torn ACL?
But what about your veterans, though? Like, look how many veterans have already gone down. We're going to talk about Cooper Kupp in a second as well. But then there's plenty of veterans that have gone down already, right?
I mean, the Ravens are notorious for grabbing veterans not before the preseason, but like week 1, week 2, because those guys are like, hey, just so you know, I'm not doing preseason stuff. So if you want to sign me, come sign me when the season starts. And like, you had Jadeveon Clowney last year who had double-digit sacks. You have Kyle Van Noy. They did it twice.
Chris Jones, obviously not for the Ravens, but I mean, he sat out and dude had a career year.
I just feel like those guys take such unbelievable care of their bodies. Like we've come so far in the strength and conditioning stuff that they're not getting the full hits, but those guys have been taking hits for long enough. Their muscle memory is like when they engage in those blocks, they're ready to go. When they're getting tackled, they know how to tackle and wrap properly. I would err on the side of caution. If my guy gets hurt week 1, week 2 in the regular season, at least you can look at your GM and say, like, well, what was I going to do? Sit Caleb Williams? What was I going to do? Sit Justin Jefferson?
Right.
No, it was bound to happen. You could be in like that jeopardy point of losing your job should you start Justin Jefferson for a quarter in even preseason week 3. And it's like, oh, by the way, our season's done now because Jefferson's done for the year. Like I'm not taking that risk at all.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I feel like this is going to be a repeat of last week. So there's another injury for the LA Rams. His name is Cooper Kupp. He might be out for a little bit. Folks, you know who Sean McVay is going to be going to come week 3. I've been telling you since the freaking preseason show, baby. Jordan Whittington is going to be a must-add. I don't know how many times I'm going to mention him in this show. I'm probably going to get cut off at some point. Folks, 7. I'm allowed 7 mentions. Okay. Unreal. Like, this is one of those stories where it's almost going to come true by accident. And not that that's a good thing for the Rams, but oh my gosh, to see them lose their top 2 wideouts. And I mean, they still have a few other options there, but my goodness, like if this ends up becoming the story of the year, you heard it here first. Matt's just holding it in like, shut up, please.
No, I just, they have to be able to score points with those guys though, because they looked horrible last week. So, you know, Whittington might be that guy. Tyler Johnson might be that guy. But if they can't get them the ball, then they're just running in circles.
Thank you for that, by the way. Quick question. So this is part of the rundown I've got here. Most surprising player so far that isn't doing well. Steve, or actually Matt, you go first. Is there a guy that you're expecting to be like a star so far and has kind of sucked so far?
Yeah, I think most people expected Rome to be kind of one of those immediate receiver threats as a rookie. Obviously, Williams hasn't been good, but he had a ball in his hands in the end zone, both of his hands, and just like fell right out like a ball you should not be dropping. He doesn't seem to be getting separation. I don't think any of the receivers on that team are helping their quarterback, and he's probably the one that you hear all the flash about and has been not good.
Steve,
well,
what do you think?
If you were listening to our preseason show, which we know you did, and you were just doing that spiel to set me up for this, I actually told you that I did not love Roma Dunze. You can look through the Google Docs for that one. So,
there was a mention of that. Yeah. There was a mention of that there.
You know what? The one for me, let's just stick in Chicago because they've always been a disappointment. Never trust a bear on your team. DeAndre Swift.
Yeah.
Ryan narrowly avoided that. Like, you got a 25-year-old running back who, you know, for all intents and purposes in Detroit didn't really get it together like many thought he would be that top 5 running back. Goes to Philly, puts up 1,000 yards easily. I want to say he had upwards of like 50 targets. When Ryan and I were doing our trade, I was like, here's all the guys. And you were kind of humming and hawing. And I was like,
it was tough. Yeah. I'm not going to lie.
I actually didn't want you to take DeAndre Swift because I was like, if I can make another trade, I'm happy keeping DeAndre Swift. We both dodged a bullet there. Didn't have to keep him.
No kidding. Yeah.
Get him. I would say he'd be the biggest disappointment I've seen so far.
This is going to kind of be, I hope I don't go like all Najee Harris on this one, but like, I know we're only 2 weeks in, and yes, they're 2-0, but like it's Patrick Mahomes, and I know they kind of take, like last year, if you listen to like the New Heights podcast, every week you'd hear Travis Kelce's like, yeah, we've got the right guys, and they just like, it feels like this slow build, and then they hit the playoffs, and that's when they shine. It's almost like Rashee Rice has had a good start. Xavier Worthy's look good, but it feels like Patrick Mahomes just doesn't have like his I mean, his speed, his fastball yet. Again, he's had, I think, 19 and 20 fantasy points so far in sleeper, which is, it's fine. But it feels like with an offense that even with what they've got, it doesn't seem like he's like, I guess they're only throwing like a couple deep balls for a touchdown so far. Like he's looked not pedestrian and not ordinary, but I mean, he doesn't look like the Patrick Mahomes where we're all freaking out by week 2 because he's like preseason. He probably looked more electric than he's looked in the regular season so far.
Do you think they've taken the Patriots of old mentality of just like, I don't care,
just win,
we win, right?
And
like,
maybe, I think so.
Those guys all want to be the best player on your fantasy football team, no matter what they say.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I mean, they win games. They have their formula. I just don't think they care, and I think you might see a lot of those Patriot type numbers. I mean, again, you're talking Brady and Mahomes. It's not like they're pedestrian, like you said, but
no,
they don't care.
Oh, and they absolutely do. I mean, I was listening to New Heights. I think was it last week's episode or anyway, and it just Travis Kelce's definitely not ready to go, and yet he's still going to be one of those higher echelon picks overall. Like not a first round anymore, but he's probably still expected to get what 800-900 yards. You would expect probably a handful of touchdowns because he's a go-to. And you're right though, Matt. They just go in and they just win. And I mean, week 1 against Baltimore, they just sneak out of that one with a win. Week 2 comes down. Did that go to overtime?
No, it was 1 point.
Or the kick or whatever, right? So I mean, like it's not like it's exciting, but it's not like they're just throttling teams. So, and this is the kind of thing they can go out and absolutely dominate week 3, and this is a moot point. But it's I don't know. We're a little early on, and I think there's already guys that we are all expecting. There's a lot of guys that are having wicked starts to their season, but I think those are all good candidates for sure.
I would say Mahomes at this point, if you're playing with people who are impatient, people who maybe you have like an early playoff, by week 13, week 14 kind of thing, and people can't wait around, Mahomes is a great person to buy low on right now. Like, think of the 2 defenses that he just played against. Baltimore is usually a top 5, top 10 defense. Cincy is usually a top 5, top 10 defense.
Yeah.
Weeks 1 and 2, like you said, you're not expected to like be clicking on all cylinders. He doesn't have Hollywood Brown. I think he's getting Hollywood Brown back at some point. He's got, like you said, Xavier Worthy, who hasn't played a lot of snaps. Rashee Rice, he was in and out of legal troubles. Like, how much was his head into football? If you go and approach someone about Patrick Mahomes and maybe they need like a lower end wide receiver or something like that, and you can upgrade a different position to get Mahomes, he's gonna be fine. Like that's just what he does. He's going to do it.
Are you saying buy low on Patrick Mahomes?
Well, it sounds weird, right? But I think at this point, people will look at that and say, well, that's 2 games in a row where he hasn't got me my 25 to 28 kind of points. So you're never going to get him low. But if you can, maybe package your quarterback and something small or whatever that is to get a top 3 quarterback fantasy wise, he's going to be there by the end of the year. He's just played really difficult defense to start the season.
My fridge is like doing something kind of weird over there. I don't know. Just hearing random sounds. Maybe the house is going to blow up.
Is your fridge running?
Yeah, it might be. It might be. Yeah, better go catch it. Folks, if you do want to drop in a question for us about your fantasy team, it's a little early. I get it. Or if you just want to say hello, that's cool too. Like I said, over the Area 51 network on all their channels and obviously our YouTube as well. Drop in. Ask a question. If you just want to like laugh at Matt's shirt or debate if it is actually a dress shirt or if it's Hawaiian apparel or both. I don't really care. But now we're getting to the segment that I just about pulled from this week because I thought we'd have 2 guys that didn't, but everybody is excited about this. This might be the most popular segment of the show now. Let's find out.
Okay.
It's Remember the Name. Everybody remembers this one. So being that I was going to pull this, I'm going to go first, and I'm going to the Wayback Time Machine, and I'm going to try to do running backs today. And speaking of a team that I do hope does well this fantasy season.
No, I want to go first. I want to go
If
first.
if you randomly pick this player, I'm going to be choked.
You're about to take my running back. You're about to take my person. I would almost guarantee it, and I have a theme for mine. And since you were late, I'm cutting the host of this show off. One.
All right. Okay.
So,
Okay, fine.
So my challenge to you guys, since you are the remember that names, is I want you to remember that theme going way back. So you might get it on the first one, you might get it on the second one, you might get it on the third one. Eventually, you will get the theme because I'm trying to do themes every single week.
So you picked a running back. You already told us.
I picked a running back, and I
Is
heard
your
you.
theme running backs?
Well, no, not necessarily, but I heard you pre-show. You said, "Oh, I'm going to look to the year 2008," and I was like, "Oh, hell no, you're not stealing this one." I picked Run DMC, Darren McFadden, first round pick in the 2008 draft class. He ran a 4.33 Run DMC. I love the name. So much hope for him. I think
band names.
One or
band names.
Yeah, one or two good seasons, but you know what? I always thought Run DMC would be like that generational fantasy football player, and he just never was.
Just like Jamarcus Russell, we all thought.
Yeah.
I saw him play live. That was fun.
Did he throw it over the
won.
mountains?
They actually it was in Denver. So it was I think they beat up on Denver. Like, Matt, were you at that game with me?
Yes.
Yeah, I think they won like 59 to like 21 or something like that. That was one of the greater life experiences. Oh yeah, now that I remember, you were there.
Yes.
Oh yes, yes, the ribs. I don't think Matt even wants to talk about that story.
No, I don't.
No,
My
and
eyes
for good
burn.
reason. Yeah, it was. That was definitely one of my finer moments. But it's I'm happy we're still friends somehow. So this is good. This is we're making progress in the relationship. Matt, who would be your first name? Not your actual first name, but your first name.
My first name is Matthew. Actually,
Okay.
thanks for
great.
asking.
Perfect. Yeah.
I often get Matthias, given my Scandinavian looks. I also have a theme, so I'm going to follow Steve's lead, and I'm interested to see if they intersect. Ron Dane. Ron Dane is one of the most prolific college running backs in the history of time. Played with the Giants.
Do I have to Google this? Is this a real person?
Yes.
Okay.
Was his name Mundane?
Maybe it was after his career was done. He was supposed to be the kind of thunder and lightning with Tiki for the Giants.
Oh, great.
Super heavily touted back Heisman campaign kind of dude, and then just never really hit it. He had some locker room problems, or coach locker room problems anyways, and that was that. So if you forgot about Ron Dane, now you can forget him. I got him about 5 minutes.
I didn't even know who that was. So I'm going to go with now this guy, pretty decent fantasy player, running back for the Houston Texans. I think you definitely wanted him on your team for the first handful of years. Definitely helped out as far as points went. Not I'm trying to remember if he was an absolute world beater or not, but he had a cool name, and it sounds like he's cutting through everybody. Steve Slayton. That's who I'm remembering today. I like Steve Slayton. I don't know if I ever had him. If I had him on my fantasy team, it was towards the end of his career when it really didn't matter as much. I didn't get him in the glory years. I think he's drafted in 2008. He was drafted that year, actually. So Steve Slayton, I'm not sure if I'm going to be sticking with that. Maybe I need to come up with a theme myself. So while Steve is going on his next one, I got to randomly find another guy.
You know what? I'm shocked that we didn't pick the same running back. When I heard you say, "Oh, you're like running back," I was like, "No, you're not doing this to me." And then I didn't think you were picking Steve Slayton when I saw the sigh of relief. There were so many other running backs in the first round that year that I thought you were going with. Player number 2 for me, we're going to go the next year, 2009, Darius Hayward-Bay.
Ooh.
Incredible Jets. Ran a 4.30, another first round pick. Yeah, another one of those guys where I was like, hey, this guy could light the NFL up. He's going to have Jamarcus Russell chucking him that ball from across the field, like the actual whole field, and he's going to just get so many 50, 60, 70-yard touchdowns. Nope. Turns out he sucked at football. Yeah.
It happens sometimes. It does. It's not always a good thing. It's not always a good thing. We all
so the theme is Al Davis picking the fastest guy in the draft year after year.
Did we get it? Did we get it? Yeah, we got it. We got it. Matt, who is the second name on your list?
Last week, I think we talked about Kadarius Toney being the first player to play in the NFL without hands. Is that correct?
Yeah,
this is maybe the first player to ever play in the NFL without eyes. His name was Trent Richardson, and he couldn't see a hole if it was the entire field. Shout out to Ted on that one.
That's good. That's good.
Another Heisman-esque.
Oh, that's good. I think we could be done there. Yeah.
Supposed to be the second coming of Adrian Peterson. All the talent in the world just
good. That didn't happen.
I don't know if it was blocking schemes or coaching, or he just had poor vision, but it sure seemed like he just had poor vision.
That's good. I'm actually really impressed with that. I'm going to go to a guy that I haven't picked him yet. This is a guy that really screwed me fantasy-wise. So I don't know if anybody knows like the Dallas Clarks or the who like Joseph Adai, maybe Marvin Harrison. This guy, as soon as he came on, I never got any more points, and he screwed me out of opportunities to win a fantasy championship the very first year. And I'm trying to get him on the show. His name is Jacob Tamme. I do not like Jacob Tamme. This is one of the tight ends that just shows up out of nowhere and totally screwed me personally in fantasy. He became Peyton Manning's like favorite target. Went with him to Denver, I think, as well. And I mean, it didn't do as well over there. I don't know how this guy made his way into the Peyton's loving arms, but he totally threw me for a loop. I think I'm trying to remember who else was on that team. I keep wanting to say Paris Campbell, but that's wrong. Jacob Tamme screwed me royally and cost me. He's one of the reasons I was costed a fantasy championship in my first ever opportunity to get one. So Jacob Tamme is going to be my second one.
I love how you were like, I'm trying to get this guy on the show. I hate him. Oh, great. So if you ever watch the show, I'd be like, hey, I bet you won't come on the show if you'd like smack talk you.
Yeah. So I'm very good at that. Very good at that. Are we going one more?
Oh, yeah.
Do you all have a third? Okay, Steve?
Yeah. So now that you guys know the theme, Al Davis only drafts speed, and I've been going in consecutive years. Who's my third pick? Name that player. 2010 wide receiver. Wasn't a first rounder.
Gostkowski. No.
Janikowski.
That's what I meant to say.
He's a kicker. He didn't have any speed. I think he was smoking darts on the field.
He kicked really hard.
Ran a 4.28. Jacoby Ford.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. They just kept. So they started with McFadden was a 4.33. They're like, hey, guess what? We didn't draft fast enough. 4.28 Darius Hayward-Bay. Not fast enough. 4.27. Jacoby Ford. None of them worked out. Turns out you have to be good at football and fast, apparently.
Maybe they should have just like tried to get the second fastest guy that had hands instead of the fastest guy that was already running past where the ball was going to be.
No. That was Al Davis.
No.
Al Davis, fastest guy. And you know what? Those are guys that I loved grabbing in Madden because it didn't really matter if you missed one deep ball. You just chucked another deep ball up and you're like, oh, sick, Darius Hayward-Bay with 1,700 receiving yards. Never happened, but it did this year.
It's a good pick. It's a good pick.
There's only one Deshaun Jackson.
Oh, is that who your pick is?
That's not my pick, but that's that guy who got drafted for his speed and also happen to be. I mean, Randy Moss fast, lots of those dudes fast, but like that's not what those guys are picked for, right? I don't think we could name a speed draft player in the last 15 years who's panned out. Tyreek's been good, but like I mean, Tyreek also was a
just a
5-tool receiver, right? So
yeah.
My final one is just, the theme being kind of these Heisman-esque college running backs that never quite figured it out in the NFL. It's Cedric or Cedric, depending on how you like to pronunciate Benson. Kind of a weenie. Very poor reception from coaches and locker room, and had a couple of good seasons. I think he had 2,000 or 3,000 yard seasons, but just never really turned out to be that bell cow, all pro kind of dude that he looked like he was going to be.
I like that pick.
Forgot about him.
I think that's why we're doing this. A lot of people have forgotten about these guys. I am going to go with where I went from a guy that I hate to a guy that I think a lot of people really loved. Another running back. This guy helped introduce me to what it was like to win on a week-to-week basis when I had Michael Turner, when eventually I did get CJ2K. But he was either, for some teams, he was your number one running back. For me, I was fortunate enough that he was like my second or maybe even my third running back because I was so stacked. I'm talking about the man who ran that ball in Buffalo. He was like a power back. Everybody loved him. Fred freaking Jackson. Everyone liked Fred Jackson because he was a very good football player. Rushed for, where do we have? Couple thousand yard seasons? Just the one, actually. But he was 3 that were close. He got over 1,000 yards, so that was good.
A few thousand yards. Okay, just one, but the rest were kind of cool.
3-time 900-yard running back.
yeah, exactly. Pretty consistent. It's funny, like this is interesting. So as he got older and with Buffalo, his best season when he only had 890 yards, but he had 9 touchdowns in 2013. I love Fred Jackson. He was always a fun guy to draft because you knew what you were getting with him. Kind of like Frank Gore, which I'm sure at some point we'll be calling his name at some point. But I mean, you knew what you're getting with Fred Jackson until he got to Seattle anyway.
I could never trust Fred Jackson. Like in his early years, I felt like that was true. You knew what you were getting. And as soon as they got CJ Spiller on that team, it was like, how many third down, looks did he come off the field for? How many times, like in the red zone, did they want to go for like the faster, younger Spiller? And, that was one of my early memories of just being so pissed off with running back by committees. I was like, come on, I'm here to play a game with my friends, and you guys are screwing this up by having more than one running back to choose from. Like, this is garbage.
I think at that point when Spiller was there, I think I eventually had him traded away, and I'm like, well, because that's when we started doing like rookie drafts too, right? So Spiller became a hot commodity, and the writing was on the wall, so you start making those trades, and so I never really had to suffer through that. So I'm sorry to hear that, Steve.
So before we move on, I've actually got an honorable mention number 4.
Okay.
And since you guys know my theme, this Raider was the fastest out of all of them. So he ran a 4.27, came much later after Jacoby Ford, and was a massive disappointment in many, many ways. Can you name that speedster Raider?
Oh. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank. Matt.
Wasn't he also a very fast driver?
He was a very fast driver.
I can't remember who.
Henry Ruggs.
Ruggs,
yeah. He might be isn't he in jail?
Yeah.
Yes.
They took a 10-year break from, making the same mistake over and over. And they're like, you know what? I think it's time to go back to it. And then Henry Ruggs proved why we just, you know what, Raiders, just stop doing this. It's getting worse. Like, somebody died. How could it get worse? Let's not play with fate and draft the next fastest Raider on the team. So stop doing that, Raiders. It's
not a good thing. Not a good look. Let's get into the fun part of the show. Now that we've done names, that was fun, but is it THNO Stars?
First, mostly for me, it's about family. First, mostly, let me tell you what I'm wearing.
It's good. I keep pressing the wrong button, but it's still fun.
First, mostly.
Yeah, Kroll Show, in case you guys are wondering. So we are now at, you see I got the little clip there. We're now figuring it out. It's kind of, we're going like lights this season, like bright lights for the show. THNO Stars, I know, very bright. So we had a last minute change. So can I get rid of your first one, Steve?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I'm going to get rid of the first one. And you know what? I'm going to give it to you because this is show lore by just having this guy enter the chat this week. If you make it the way he made it, like, you're an automatic THNO. So Steve, fire away, buddy.
So I'm hoping I spelled it right for Ryan because he obviously can't.
I got the clip.
Can't use the Google machine. I was the very first THNO's advisor.
Best advisor. Yeah.
I was the first best advisor too.
You were.
To take an offensive lineman, and damn it, I'll do it again if I want to. You wanna me too?
I wanna you too.
Well, the Chiefs wanted to get the ball to 6'6", 307-pound Wanya Moore. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. Didn't see the clip. Don't know who this guy is, but Wanya Morris. This is my favorite of both types of THNO Stars. The one year I tried rolling with the 1-1-1 theme, where it's like I just want someone with,
which was good. It was good.
Yeah, one target, one catch, 1 yard, one touchdown, and someone who literally cannot help anyone. So, I'm not the commissioner. Old greasy mustache up there is commissioner.
Can we start allowing this? Like, can we start allowing the actual starting offensive lineman? Because that would be such a ballsy move. Like, I don't know, have like odds versus somebody, be like, okay, this week you're taking an offensive lineman, next week I will. So until we can do that, commissioners, this guy helps no one. I don't even think you can add that if you tried. Like, maybe you can. I'd have to look. I'll run the clip and then I'll look for you. So here we go.
Up top they go. And look who catches it. Morris. Wanye Morris. The backup left tackle was eligible on
the Wheezy, the mixtape Wheezy.
Wanye.
Yeah. Like Kanye. Kind of.
I love the TD celebration. Like, come on, you're an offensive lineman. That's most likely the only touchdown shot in the spotlight you're ever going to get. Make it count, buddy. And he great touchdown celebration too. I'm just looking. Matt, you can preview who your player is going to be. I'm going to look if you can actually take Mr. West is in the building. Nope, you cannot pick a offensive lineman. Now you know. Terrible. So I couldn't let you if I tried.
My pick is Andre Agassi. Iosivas.
Are they related?
He had 2 touchdowns and 7 yards.
That's not even fair.
It's not fair. I was doing a little bit of the Googling on him. In 18 career games, he has 6 touchdowns. And he averages 8.7 yards per game receiving. So this is not the first time he has THNO'd. He did it a few times last year.
There's no way this guy plays football. If you look at his sleeper profile, no. The dude went to Princeton.
Looks like a soccer player.
He looks like a soccer player, exactly. 18% rostered, 4% started. So anybody that
So wait a second. You said
ballsy enough to start this guy.
18 career games and he's scored in 6 of those. Is that what you said?
He's had 6 touchdowns.
Okay, so most likely he's scored in 5 of them. Like, if you start this guy for 4 games, you're getting a touchdown out of him.
Those are good odds.
I like those odds. Wow.
Those are good odds. I suppose you guys want to see what
the touchdown 2 touchdowns twice. So
that's insane. Like, he must just show up and be like, today's going to be a good day.
And his other 2 touchdown game, he had Oh, he had 36 yards. It's a respectable stat line. But let's see.
Man,
One touchdown,
the NFL
2 yards. One touchdown, 3 yards.
let's see what clip I picked here.
Double teamed out here. Here it is. Going for it all. And an open target once again.
I'm glad I got the right guy, because remember that one time when I picked the wrong player? And I had to... It happens occasionally where I get the wrong clip. So welcome to the NFL, Vesuvius, Mount Vesuvius.
Vesuvius.
I don't know. Yeah, that guy does not look like an NFL player. I'm sorry, that does not check out. Doesn't check out at all. My guy here, as is customary, a tight end will star in this segment. To be honest, Trey McBride probably qualifies also, but Higgins was the guy this week. Double zeros. You know what that means? 0% owned, 0% started. 18 yards and a TD. Cardinals absolutely trucked the Rams. And if I told you Higgins had a big day, you would have started talking about the Bengals. Steve has never picked him in any season, so I'm fine to say that Elijah Higgins is my fan. I looked. I checked. You do not have him picked in any of our seasons, so... With that being said, I'm about to roll the clip.
Junior around, now they got him in the slot.
Murray's looking for him. Pressure coming. Got away from Verse. Still on the move. Still on his feet. Throws to the end zone. It is caught by Elijah Higgins for the touchdown. Magic from Murray.
Something should also be said. You could have probably just said, hey, check out this sick deke by Kyler Murray, and then you assume there's a touchdown at the end, because that was all Kyler Murray on that play. It just so happened there was a guy in the end zone. Too bad James Conner didn't catch it, I guess. So, did I just see that you texted me?
I clicked on the button. You can actually add Wanye Morris onto. I don't know. I don't think you can start him. Maybe you could start him in a flex. Like, I want you to use your commissioner powers to get this guy.
Okay,
make sure nobody takes the guy you drop, and then try to put him on your roster.
But how come he doesn't? How come he doesn't show up though when I type it in?
Because you suck.
I must suck.
I don't know.
Like,
I
is
just
it like a flex?
I hit the add button, and then it was like, "Who would you like to drop?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, you can actually add an offensive lineman." And I
No
feel
kidding.
like we should have some sort of really stupid rule for next year, where the person who finishes with the most points in a week has to add an offensive lineman for the week.
That's probably why you're not in charge.
Why? Because we'd have too much fun.
I mean, it would be interesting. Like, how many offensive linemen get a touchdown in a season? I mean, last year was a bad example because there's a few. Yeah, I guess maybe you just have to pick. We all have to pick from the same team. Like, all right, it has to be from the Chiefs, or like, who are the other teams that use them? Like, does Philly?
Yeah,
to
be honest, I don't really know, but
the Rams
would be really hilarious.
I know there's a few teams that tend to do it, so maybe like New Orleans or just Taysom Hill count.
Didn't the Lions do it? And there was like the controversy around like the not reporting as eligible or whatever, and then they went.
I think Okay, so okay. I mean,
terrible idea.
It's a wrinkle.
Man, would that be hilarious? Like, why do you have like you're like scrolling with buddies and like, oh, let me see your team. And you're like, why do you have Wanya Morris on your team? You're like, well, I did really well last week, so I got the hell out.
This is my punishment for being awesome. It's a choice. It's a choice.
Or okay, maybe we don't make it impact it that much. Let's say the toilet bowl winner for the year has to use their last pick to draft an offensive lineman, or Mr. Irrelevant is always an offensive lineman.
But you can just drop them. That's no fun. You have to keep them. You have to. I would say you have to start them. You have to keep them. You have to keep them for half the season. You have to start them once.
Yeah, I think you should occupy your bench, at least one bench spot the whole year.
Yeah, and you have to start them once.
Unless you're in our league where we only have one bench spot.
Yeah, that's still bugging me a little bit, but I'm getting by. Let's get into sneaky starts. Oh yeah, Matt, who is the sneakiest start for you this week?
Former Minnesota Viking Adam Thielen. I think with Bryce Young being gone, I've always said that Andy Dalton is a rich man's Jeff Garcia, and I think he'll be looking for a vet who doesn't drop
Who's
balls.
listening to it when you say that?
All the CFL fans. Thielen doesn't drop the ball. He gets open. You're going to find him for third down conversions constantly. If their O-line can sustain a 6-play drive, I think he's an 8-catch, 90 yards and a touchdown on a real high. But he had a close to 1,000 yards last year, and he still got it.
So you're liking him this week?
Yeah, only this week, but yeah, okay. Big fan.
Big fan. Just right now. Like by the end of the show, I may change my mind. Are you going to start him at all in any league?
I might. I actually might. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I like what you're getting at. I'm going to go here. Cam Akers is who. Just kidding. I'm not going to go there. Like our friend Jim Coventry said in season 2, DeMarcus Robinson is my start this week. As we all know, Cooper Kupp is out, and I will get fined if I mention Jordan Whitting. Robinson is the guy. The targets are going up, and he's got a nice little 56% owned, 24% started, and it's going to change depending on the Cooper Kupp status. But now we know Cooper Kupp is out. Puka's already out. So, folks, go try to get yourself a DeMarcus Robinson start, because you know what? It might just work out for you this week. And sometimes I'm right. I mean, it says so right here. I'm a future league champion.
I'm going to throw it a random, like, I think this will actually happen because Ryan is telling you to start DeMarcus Robinson, and it sounds smart because he will be that number one option. You should probably go grab Tutu Atwell because he's probably going to blow up for like 100 and something and a couple touchdowns just because.
Also a season 2 reference.
Yeah.
Likely. Actually, no, sorry. I take that back. That was last season because they're tutus and your pukas, I think. Was
the tutus and the pukas.
Yeah, it got a little bit a little trashy that week from what I remember. But Tutu Atwell is a good call. Steve, who is your star? Or is it Tutu Atwell?
It's not Tutu Atwell. That was just, that's why I'm one of the best advisors on this show.
Friendly advice.
They come to me naturally. This guy was a pretty obvious one. Jawan Jennings.
You're like a single lady with cats. They just come to you naturally.
No, cats are the devil. They're literally the worst of every possible human companion could be. Jawan Jennings. He was seeing 5 and 4 targets in back-to-back weeks. That's with Debo, Ayuk. They were running the ball with Jordan Mason. And so I think he's going to see that uptick in production when Debo's not there. Good flex option. I'm not going to go as far as Matt's, 98, 8 catches, 90. I would say temper your expectations, 6 to 10 points for Jawan Jennings, but that's a great flex option.
6 to 10 is pretty good.
Well, I mean, 6 to 10 could be a 1-yard touchdown like an offensive lineman gets. Like
that's fine.
I could see it being that. In a PPR league, I think possibly it could be more than 10, maybe like a 10 to 12 because of all the touches. He is only owned in 6% of sleeper leagues, so it could be one of those you're going to have to add plus start. He's going to see 3 defenses in a row that are giving up fantasy points to wideouts early in the season. The Rams are giving them up. The Pats are, and then they have the Cardinals coming up here.
So maybe drop an offensive lineman off of your roster and go at Jawan Jennings. Probably a smart play, and start him even.
Yeah.
In case you guys missed it and you're visually challenged, but you're audibly enhanced. PPR means points per reception. And if you're in one of those fun leagues where you're 0.5, we call that the split. I think we got all of our starts done. We're not missing anyone. Sorry, Chris. That happened one time. Anyway, we're
Never let you forget it. Never.
Yeah, well, hey, sometimes people get mad. We're gonna get into sleepy ads. Matt, why don't you start us off on the ads?
Sure. This may be sus as sleepy as the young folks would say, but Braylon
Would you
Allen.
put a cap or no cap on it?
I don't cap. I don't believe in cap.
Okay.
I'm too Sigma for cap. That's my 11-year-old is mortified looking at me right now.
Oh, that's perfect.
It's
Mega
Braylon Allen. He's 43% owned and 4% started. The Jets are putting up some points. I go back to that running back by committee conversation with Breece Hall being there as the stud.
Yeah.
But he's shown what he can do in his few opportunities. So, that's my sleepy app.
I like that. That's very very safe, but I think it works. I'm gonna go with I don't know, Hunter Henry. I don't know, man. Are the Pats gonna play well in the next few weeks? Maybe. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense what's going on over there. He had 12 targets against the Seahawks. The Jets are stingy against tight ends already, and then the 49ers. Let's say I get lucky here, and something magical happens in the next couple weeks. He's 22% owned, 6% started. But who knows? Maybe the Patriots get going on something, and all of a sudden Hunter Henry actually looks like a decent tight end start. I'm not putting a ton of faith in this pick, but at the same time, I mean, the NFL through 2 weeks has been super weird. Nothing seems to make sense, and I was looking at Pick'em for week 3, and there's probably coin flips on half the games this week. They're going to be good games, but I don't think you can pick winners, convincingly on half the games this week. So, I mean, for all we know, Hunter Henry is going to be a star in the next couple of weeks. Not a superstar, but somebody that you'll be happy that he's on your roster. And if you happen to start him, it works out. Yay me. Steve, what do you got?
Yay you.
Yeah,
I feel like we tend to do this on this show because the NFL tight end fantasy outlook is such a crapshoot, but I find myself always looking for the next tight end. Is Hunter Henry?
You're married though.
Good thing she doesn't watch this show. Wow.
Yeah.
Grant Calcaterra.
That can't be a real name.
Calcaterra. So Dallas Goedert might be toast, and I think I'm the reason why he's officially done. I drafted him in 2 of my 3 leagues. I was watching the Eagles, parts of the Eagles game this week, and Calcaterra moves really good for a tight end. At the start of the game, I was like, I don't think Dallas Goedert plays football anymore, because every time they throw to a tight end, they're not saying Dallas Goedert's name. He also has some injury history. And so I think this is a really deep ad, but if there is any sort of committee workload in Philly, if Dallas Goedert has an injury, I think Calcaterra could easily step in as a top 10 tight end for any fantasy league, whether that's PPR, half, standard. It's a deep ad.
What about your home league? What about your home league, like the league inside your house?
My home league.
Yeah, if you're drafting against your team or against your house, wife and kids, would you still take them?
Sure.
Okay. Just checking.
I don't know what they're doing. Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't expect him to put up points in the next little bit. Everybody's got a couple roster spots on their bench where it's like, I'm going to add this guy. Let's see what happens. It's worth holding on to him for 2 or 3 weeks, see if anything comes of it. And then if not, no harm, no foul, drop, add someone else. But potential's there, I think.
Interesting. We forgot to mention this on the top of the show, and we're trying to name our show this week. With Jordan Love likely coming back for week 3, it sounds like, not because they didn't trust the true friendship and sportsman that Malik Willis is, because Jordan Love is actually potentially healthy, but his center puked on the ball when it was it 3rd and 10, and decided to not pass it, and decided to do a QB run, a read option play, and they turned the ball over. His coach was choked. And then they found out that he didn't want to give the ball to anyone else because there was puke on the ball. I've seen the clip. I hope you guys have all seen the clip at least once. Legitimate puke on the football. You think they would have just like, did they have any timeouts left? I don't even know. I didn't see the game, but I did see the clip. First of all, that's gross. Second of all, probably a smart move because, I mean, you're throwing a pukey football, although it'd be super funny watching droplets fall from the sky. But, I mean, you're probably not going to catch that ball because it's slippery.
I just love how, like, they're interviewing. It's like, why didn't Malik pass on third? And it's like, I don't know. Like, these are backup court. Like, I didn't actually hear it, but you could just imagine what's going through his head. Like, you idiot. Like, pass the ball on third down. Like, what are you doing running it? And then he looks at the clip and he's like, yeah, that's my bad, bro. That's my bad over here.
Yeah.
The funnier part for me of that clip is he knows it's coming. He barely moves his head out of the way. Like, you would think you would like fully spray it sideways to avoid the ball, but he kind of just nonchalantly like just lets it spray on the ball and looks up, has to snap the ball. He gets in perfect position for a combo block and like resets himself for, it must have been like a tackle coming in, a D tackle coming in as well. And I was like, these guys are just made of something different, because like when I'm sick or like I throw up, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, is there any ginger ale in the house? And like, could somebody rub my head because I just puked everywhere? And this guy's just, snapping the ball and blocking NFL D.
Got to cover the A gap.
Got to cover the A gap. Doesn't matter if you're chucked.
Yeah, got to make sure we can get the jet sweep out right. Like, just absolutely incredible, but still disgusting. So, yeah, dude puked on a ball. Still worked out, I guess. So,
great way to end the show.
It's, it's so we do. We talk about Northern Hawaii. We talk about puking on a football, and a lot of LA Rams talk. So it's par for the course for this week. Anything you guys are looking forward to this week in the NFL?
My team not sucking and winning a damn game.
Yeah, that would be fun. That would be fun if they were able to do that. Have they figured out how to stay in bounds for an end zone touchdown catch?
You know what? If we're gonna bring that up, that is literally one of the, CFL's got the Rouge rule. It's a stupid rule. What is the difference between a guy who drags his toe starting inbounds and then drags it out of bounds versus a guy whose foot lands inbounds but part of it doesn't? Like, I feel like they just need to get rid of that rule. If you touch anywhere in the green, that's a catch. I honestly don't know the difference between, let's say, the guy's heel lands first. I'm trying to do this thing. His heel lands first inbounds and then his toe falls down. Is that not the same as dragging your foot all the way across?
I mean, you would think so. I think
literally, what's the difference?
I think if you have both heels in, like, their whole thing is 2 feet, right? Not one. The CFL's 1, I think, right?
Right.
So if you have 2 heels in, and even one of them goes outside, I mean, if you got 1.5 feet that land in, and then the final piece, like, we're splitting hairs at that point. Like, you're taking out, and in that case, I know, like, it sucks, obviously, that's the team you cheer for, but as a football fan, the way that game should have finished is it should have went to overtime. The way that went.
No, they weren't going to overtime, dude. Did you not see the sideline? Harbaugh was running up there, and he was like, we're going for 2 points right away.
Oh, that's right. That's right. He was going for it. But so potential game ending. But you land in, you have 2 feet, and I mean, it's impressive the way the guys can toe tap. Like, Tyreek's one of the better guys that can do that. But you see these guys and they toe tap, like, and you're looking for like a strand of grass between, the sidelines or the end zone. And I mean, I think, as amazing as it is that these guys can do it, I think you're ruining kind of the whole point.
The whole point
by ruining it.
Yeah. That's why I think
ruining
it should just be like, if you get any part of your body, both legs, you get any part of both legs inbounds as a first touch. So like you can't put your toes, your toes are coming down to the white line, your toes hit out of bounds and then you step down. Okay, I can see that because you first landed out of bounds. But like if your heel lands first and then your toe continues down and your toes are over, like I just think the game is more exciting when people are scoring and it's pushing the game kind of forward towards that. Like, yeah, I just feel like we were ruined out of this either, yes, overtime potential or this like mad 2-point conversion fail or succeed kind of thing.
Right. I mean, if you maintain possession of the ball, like if you make the catch, I think that's another one too, right? Where you're waiting, like whether it's a fumble or whatever, and you see the guy make a football move. But I mean, if he makes the catch and he's in the end zone, you've crossed the plane, everything's there, and you're going to call it on what? A centimeter or an inch, that'd be a couple of centimeters in America. It just seems, yeah, you're getting away from the whole point of it. And for a league that you want to see points scored, I mean, again, it was great theater, but it
was very
anticlimactic.
Like,
yeah. I mean, it was awesome thinking like, oh my gosh, they got it, and then you hear like, no, it's over.
Yeah,
and that's the ball game. Just Matt, what do you think? Are you feeling this? Are you feeling this as well?
I get it. I think if it's not the team you want to win, if this is in the middle of the game and not the very last play, probably not even talking about it.
Yeah.
But I get it. I actually never really thought, Steve, about the drag your toe versus touching your heel down.
Yeah. And like, to be honest, I'm totally cool if that play was the exact opposite and it was Kelsey that caught it in the end zone and his heel comes down first and then his toes are after. It's like, I would still feel like we were ruined out of that moment, right? It's no different than the overtime rule where it's like Mahomes versus Allen. They've been scoring at will. Okay, sweet. We've got this shootout going. Let's go. We are so amped up. Oh, look, the one team scored. The game is over. You don't get to answer back. Like, it's just some of those.
Or Tim Tebow when they went against Pittsburgh that year. Like, all right, that's the ball game, and everyone's
only time it was acceptable because F the Steelers.
Well, we've come full circle here. Yeah, I don't know. And NFL is interesting. So a lot of good games this week. I think there's 2 Monday night games, so that's gonna be fun. So clear your schedule for Mondays, folks. I have a championship game to play, so I'm gonna have to miss at least one of them. But you guys all go enjoy that Monday Night Football action. And yeah, this is a lot of fun. Hopefully there are some better choices for THNOs next week. I feel like it's still been a little bit dry in that area. We haven't exactly had a plethora of options yet. So I believe it's coming. Likely more tight ends, likely more offensive linemen. I really don't want to have to get to the point where, we're picking cheap viewers. Hey, that's great. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. How much are we talking? Like $1.99? Or just like people that aren't very good at watching stuff? Not really sure. I remember what I was going to say. Anyway, enjoy your fantasy week. May your team win. I am 0-2 in one of my leagues, and it's the absolute worst feeling when you go into Monday Night Football thinking all I literally need is like this many points with a guy is going to score them, and somehow you still lose. So 2 weeks in a row, I've been shut out in a league. The other one, I'm doing okay. So yeah, I'm not liking Family Feud League right now, Matt. It's not helping me out. I have literally one of the best teams, and I'm 0-2. So thank you, Christian McCaffrey, for staying injured. Appreciate it, bro. So it's not your fault. It's not your fault. Yeah, I know. Hey, I'm allowed to cry. I don't care. On behalf of Steve and North Hawaii, Matt, I am Ryan. This is That Helps No One Fantasy Cast on Area 51 Network. Go add an offensive lineman to your roster. You just never know. Peace out.